In the distant future, humanity had reached the pinnacle of technological advancement. They had colonized other planets, and had begun to explore the depths of the universe. But as they ventured deeper into the unknown, they discovered a terror that they could never have imagined. On a distant planet, a team of scientists stumbled upon an ancient, alien ruin. Inside, they found a tome bound in human skin, filled with strange, eldritch symbols. They couldn't decipher the text, but they knew it was something important. They brought the tome back to Earth to study it further. As they delved deeper into the tome's secrets, they realized that it was a grimoire of an ancient, cosmic being, a being that had been hibernating for eons. The being was known as the Elder One, and it had the power to manipulate reality itself. The scientists soon realized that their curiosity had awakened the Elder One from its slumber. It began to exert its influence on Earth, causing strange, terrifying phenomena. People began to disappear without a trace, and strange, monstrous creatures began to appear in the cities. The governments of the world soon realized that they were dealing with something beyond human comprehension. They formed a secret cabal to try to stop the Elder One, but their efforts were in vain. The Elder One's power was too great, and it continued to spread its influence across the planet. As the world descended into chaos, a small group of survivors banded together in a desperate attempt to stop the Elder One. They knew that the only way to defeat it was to destroy the tome that had awakened it. But they also knew that it would be a suicide mission. They set out on their journey, facing unimaginable horrors at every turn. They were stalked by the Elder One's monstrous spawn, and were plagued by terrifying visions of the being's true form. But they pressed on, driven by the hope that they might be able to save humanity from certain doom. In the end, they succeeded in their mission. They destroyed the tome and the Elder One was banished back to its slumber. But at a great cost, as the survivors were the only ones left on a desolate and barren Earth. The world was forever changed by the Elder One's influence, and humanity was left to rebuild in the shadow of an ancient, cosmic terror that would always be waiting to be awakened again. In the remote wilderness, a group of friends set out for a camping trip, seeking adventure and escape from the mundanity of their everyday lives. But as they ventured deeper into the woods, they stumbled upon an ancient payphone, long forgotten by society. Out of curiosity, they decide to make a call, but as soon as the call connects, they are met with strange and terrifying noises on the other end. The voice on the other side of the line is garbled, and it seems like it is speaking in a language that is not of this world. As the night goes on, the friends begin to experience strange and terrifying hallucinations. They see visions of monstrous creatures that lurk in the shadows, and feel a sense of impending doom. They soon realize that they have stumbled upon something that was never meant to be discovered. The friends start to investigate and they find out that the payphone is connected to an ancient and powerful being known as the Elder One. This being is said to have the power to manipulate reality itself, and the friends are now under its influence. The friends realize that their world is not real and that their mind is trapped in a dreamlike state. They knew that the only way to escape the influence of the Elder One is to disconnect the call. But as they try to disconnect the call, the phone line seems to be unresponsive. The friends start to panic, knowing that if they cannot disconnect the call, they will be trapped in the Elder One's dream forever. As the night wears on, the friends' grip on reality begins to slip away. They are consumed by the Elder One's influence and unable to escape. They are trapped in the dream and they are forced to face the true nature of the Elder One, a monstrous and eldritch being that has been waiting for eons to be awakened. In the end, the friends were never seen or heard from again. It is said that they are still trapped in the dream, forever under the influence of the Elder One. The payphone still stands in the wilderness, its line still connected, and its eerie ring can be heard on quiet nights, a warning to all who dare to answer the call. In a small town nestled deep in the heart of the countryside, a young woman moves into an old and decrepit apartment building. But as she settles in, she begins to notice something strange. Every night, as she lays in bed, she sees a pair of eyes staring at her through the window, glowing in the darkness. The young woman, at first, dismisses it as her imagination, but as the nights pass by, the eyes continue to appear, always watching her. She starts to feel like she is being stalked, and she becomes increasingly paranoid. She starts to investigate and soon discovers that the apartment building has a dark and terrifying past. The previous tenants had reported similar experiences, and some of them had even disappeared without a trace. The young woman becomes convinced that the eyes are connected to something sinister. As she digs deeper into the history of the building, she discovers an ancient and powerful being known as the Elder One, that had been sealed within the building, long ago by a powerful cult. The being has the ability to manipulate reality and influence people's minds. The young woman realizes that the being is attempting to use her as a vessel to escape its prison and regain its freedom. The eyes she sees at night are the Elder One trying to communicate with her and manipulate her mind. Desperate to escape the being's grasp, the young woman turns to the only person who can help her, an eccentric occultist who had been studying the Elder One for years. Together, they devise a plan to banish the being back to its prison and seal it away forever. But as they begin the ritual, the young woman realizes too late that the occultist had been under the influence of the Elder One all along, and he had no intention of banishing it, but to release it. The young woman is consumed by the being and becomes its vessel, and it is unleashed upon the world. The building still stands, but it is now abandoned, and it is said that the eyes can still be seen in the windows at night, watching, waiting for its next victim. And the young woman's fate, like the previous tenants, remains a mystery. In a small, isolated town, a string of bizarre and gruesome murders begins to occur. The only common denominator in the murders is that each victim was found holding a doll that was made in the likeness of the victim. The dolls are incredibly realistic, almost as if they are alive. The local detective assigned to the case soon discovers that the dolls are being made by a reclusive and eccentric doll maker who lives on the outskirts of town. As the detective investigates, he realizes that the doll maker has a twisted and deadly obsession with his creations. The doll maker had been possessed by an ancient and powerful being known as the Elder One, which had taken over his body and mind and was using him to create the dolls, as a means to manipulate reality and influence people's minds. The detective soon realizes that the only way to stop the murders is to catch the doll maker before he can strike again. But as he gets closer to the truth, he begins to experience strange and terrifying hallucinations. He starts to see visions of monstrous creatures that lurk in the shadows and feels a sense of impending doom. The detective knew that the doll maker was under the influence of the Elder One and that the being was using the dolls as a way to gain power and influence. The more people that hold the dolls, the more powerful the Elder One becomes. In a final confrontation, the detective faces the doll maker and the Elder One in a desperate attempt to stop them from taking over the town and the world. But as he destroys the dolls, the Elder One reveals its true form, a monstrous and eldritch being that had been waiting for eons to be awakened. The detective sacrifices himself to banish the Elder One back to its prison, but the town is forever changed by the being's influence. The dolls are destroyed, but some say that on quiet nights, you can still hear the sound of the doll maker's laughter and the whispers of the Elder One, waiting to be awakened again.